Hey everybody, welcome to Geek Girl
versus Nerd Boy.
episode.
He's, I don't know.
I don't know.
We don't even care anymore, to be honest.
No, it really doesn't matter. I'm Russell Frost,
I'm Brianna Hasty.
and we're here to talk about WandaVision.
Episode 4.
Well, 1 through 4, but last week we talked about 1 through 3. This week, episode 4, and finally, we know what the show's about.
Do we, though? But we do,
You've been
but we
waiting
don't.
all week just to say that.
Yes, all weekend, since Friday morning. So I personally think that this episode, I loved it, but I think it's hilarious because people are acting like they got a million answers. But it's stuff that they already figured out. So we got confirmation. We now know for a fact that we're inside Wanda's head. Versus just sort of assuming it.
Well, are we though?
Yeah. Are we though?
Are you taking those off?
I am taking them off. I got distracted.
I'll take mine off too.
Okay.
Now we're both naked.
Now it's weird. Now it's double the Superman.
Really weird.
Yeah, this is strange.
Anyway.
But anyways, yes. So, right? But then there's still the question of, in the first episode, during the commercial, when the toaster makes the sounds like you would hear in a hospital room.
Already, we've dropped the spoilers, and I should have done this right at the front. But spoiler alert, if you haven't seen episode 4 of WandaVision, don't watch this show. Just stop, turn it off, forget what you've heard. We're going to talk about all sorts of details. We're going to speculate about all sorts of crap. Mm-hmm. So that's it. That's your spoiler warning. That's the only one you get. No more. So,
yeah, sorry.
No.
Sorry about that.
I do think, so for me, just... And I'm the simple one here. You're the detailed background story.
Yeah, I'm only on the edge though. Like I go look for the information.
But that's still like that's your role here.
Mm-hmm, that's
Whereas
true.
I'm just kind of the dumb watcher guy, and that's my role here.
I gotta admit, this week I was very sad not to see your face watching
a show,
Yeah,
because I watch it by myself. Normally we'll watch together. Mm-hmm. I feel like finally, so I know Brianna's totally right. We haven't gotten a lot of answers, especially to questions that there's really brought up more questions than answers. But I finally feel like, okay, this is a Marvel series I can wrap my head around. Because I couldn't wrap my head around the first 3 episodes, which are retro, basically couched in retro TV. And I'm like, okay, so what's the storyline? What's the arc? What's going to happen here? Now, at least, even if I'm wrong, and I could very well be, I feel like, okay, this is in Wanda's head. It's a reaction to something. Maybe somebody's torturing her. Maybe she's doing it to herself. Maybe some terrible, tragic mistake happened, whatever. But we know that at least Wanda's partly responsible for this whole thing, right?
Yeah, which has been an assumption since the beginning. Like, there's no physical evidence, but you kind of assume, like, episode 2, that's when we get the beekeeper, right?
Right. What the hell's the beekeeper doing?
And Wanda, just no. And he's gone. And it's out of Vision's memory. He doesn't know it. She says, I don't want this here. And it's gone. And then with Monica / Geraldine in episode 3, the second that Monica
didn't know was Monica.
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Who, if you're living out in the world and somehow didn't come across that on Twitter or somewhere, you didn't know that Geraldine was Monica. I don't know how you escaped it, but good for you. So in that moment, when Geraldine starts to question the reality and mentions or remembers Ultron, again, Wanda says, no, hell no, not in my worlds.
Right.
So it was an assumption that we made, but we're given physical evidence actually not even physical evidence. It's just Monica at the end of the episode going, "It's all Wanda."
Right. Laying on the ground, having been ejected from something at the end of episode 3, which was their first clue, and then we see what's going on. All of episode 4 is basically leading up to that moment.
Yes.
It's the explanation of why S.w.o.r.D is there, what S.w.o.R.D is doing there, what's going on, how Monica got involved, who Monica was. We didn't even know. She was just Geraldine. Mm-hmm. I didn't. Did you have some clue? Did anybody have clue?
That Geraldine was Monica?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was released somewhere along the line
Really?
before it even came out. Yes. Yeah. You're the one person
so
that I was
dumb.
just talking about. Like, I don't know how you missed it.
Right. That's me. Thanks.
Okay. Yeah. Alrighty. So let's stop and talk about that pretty epic and tragic beginning to this episode. So we've become accustomed to the jaunty little opening credit scene with a fun theme song. And episode 4, we're in reality again. It is the day that Endgame takes place. So in this moment, and I retweeted, somebody did a side-by-side of the Hulk doing the snap to bring everyone back and Monica rematerializing. So you see it right next to each other, and it's pretty, for that nerd part of the brain, like, okay, I can see this. You see it in real time. The Hulk on the ground in pain because of all that power that it took, and Monica coming back in the hospital room. And then you see Ant-Man walking out and like, oh my God, look, all the birds are back. And Monica's crying out for help. And my favorite part is it almost matches exactly when Clint gets the phone call from his wife to the guy in the hospital asking for a phone so he can call his wife. That's what really hit. I mean, it was already emotional.
Do you think they did that on purpose?
I don't know.
Or is
But
this like the Pink Floyd and Wizard of Oz sort of,
yeah, if they did it on purpose, that's some real exquisite attention to detail stuff, which WandaVision proves is its bread and butter. It loves those tiny details, and it wants us to dig around for them so they can be like, yep, I totally did that. You're welcome. So, yeah, if somebody did it, cool. If it's a happy accident, it's a happy/very tragic accident.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Part was kind of weird because it took me, and again, I'm not the bright one. She's the bright one.
I can't argue.
I didn't expect her to demur there, believe me. It took me a minute to figure out that this was people coming back from the blip, as it were. Like, I was like, what is that? What? Oh, I get it. And then when I saw the effect more and more, it was like, okay, this is the exact effect, except we never saw the people rematerializing.
No.
Which they do in the same way they dematerialize. They just sort of reassemble from fluff floating in the air. And here's Monica, like, reassembling in the hospital, which apparently where she was 5 years before.
So Maria Rambeau laying in bed with cancer. Doctor, I guess she goes in for an operation. The doctor tells Monica, hey, your mom did great. She's coming back. No need to worry. The snap happens. What is it? 3 years?
5 years.
5 years.
Yeah.
Okay, so the blip is that 5-year period. And then the second snap happens. And I mean, first, can we talk about how that doctor had zero bedside manner?
Well, I mean, yeah.
Granted, this is a crazy...
Pretty insane situation. I mean, imagine all these people are rematerializing in this hospital, and they have no idea what's been going on for the last 5 years, whereas all the people that have been there for 5 years are like, what the... Right. So, yeah, I mean, obviously really intense scene.
We can kind of forgive her for being like,
Well,
yeah,
I
no,
mean-
your mom died 2 years ago, and that was 3 years after you just disappeared.
Yeah.
You just disappeared. Yeah. So it's a very, and I like how they used the other people in the hospital to also build on that emotion of that kind of fear and chaos. And I think choosing to put it in a hospital is a good idea, because where else would we see so much chaos put into one place? So if you come back from the blip, say,
Well, now we had this conversation though about like what happened to like
yeah, the people
on
in the
an
airplane,
right? Like if the pilot got blipped out and the plane. So,
yeah, do those people come back in the airplane? Because what you see in the hospital
Or in the
is
air.
like, yeah, are they in the air because the airplane crashed? So guy was walking across the street, right? Snaps out of universe, comes back, boom, hit by a car.
Right.
Suddenly that hospital is bound to be filled with terrified, injured people. It just has to be.
Yeah.
So, yes, I guess we can forgive her lack of bedside manner.
Yeah.
Just a hair. So, I thought that was a cool spot to open. What I find interesting a little later on when Monica first meets Jimmy is when she starts to question, how come you and I know Westview is here, but these two small town cops from Eastview don't know? Is it a radius thing?
Right.
I find it interesting that she didn't ask, hey, did you blip out? Is it maybe because we were part of the blip? But then I kind of stopped to think about it. I'm like, is it a rude thing in the MCU to ask that now? Like, is that too?
Cultural norms.
Yeah, is it too personal?
I think that, well, so obviously I have no evidence or proof, but I think that's just a loose end there to leave loose.
Yeah.
And we'll learn more. Like, is Wanda controlling the people around? So this is all taking place in the city of Westview, right? And it's basically what we learned in this episode is that Wanda has some sort of field of energy around Westview, and nobody can get in. If they pass through the field, they get sort of sucked into the storyline that she's created. Or she boots them out. Mm-hmm. Is that fair?
Theoretically, because we don't know what happened to Beekeeper Guy. We see Monica get thrown out.
Yeah.
But we don't know what happened to Beekeeper
Did you see
Guy.
Beekeeper Guy? She just saw him and kind of freaked out. I don't think she actually did anything.
Because there's, while my girl Darcy is watching the monitor,
God.
I love Darcy. I love Kat Dennings with all of my heart. I am unashamed of it. And seeing Darcy Lewis back and Jimmy Woo just makes me beyond happy. I love them both. And the fact that the MCU, again, it's all about those attentions to detail. Why create new characters when we already have some perfectly awesome characters that are fan favorites? And just put them back in there.
Already, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
and that's really good. You did some really good research about Jimmy Woo and the whole Agents of Atlas thing.
Learning for the first time today, as I had no idea. I just thought, hey, here's a fun character for Ant-Man and the Wasp. But Jimmy Woo is older than Marvel Comics because he was first originated in 1956 for Atlas Comics, which was Marvel before, like, the Atlas became Marvel. So Jimmy Woo has existed this entire time out there in the realm. And when I brought this up earlier, you made the comment of, well, yeah, why would we create someone when there already is an FBI agent to fill this role for Ant-Man and the Wasp? And then I learned that Ant-Man is part of the Agents of Atlas team, so it makes perfect sense to pair Jimmy Woo with Ant-Man. And then here you have him again, and someone out there had, again, Twitter's my home away from home, missed that.
Me too.
Yeah. Oh, you too. Okay. Yes, that's true. So somebody.
Russell Frost.
at Brianna Hasty, because we're clever like that. But someone saying, oh, I want a X-Files type show with Jimmy Woo, just like investigating the weird things. Well, that's basically what his comic book is already. It's already out there. It exists. And this episode proved that Marvel can do a big scale MCU movie in a short 22-minute period.
Yeah, and they certainly have the resources, obviously.
Yeah.
So can we talk about how inept Jimmy Woo is?
But he's not, though. That's what I'm thinking now.
See,
I think everyone else underestimates him.
Well, maybe, and I'm not, and I would agree with you, but all the S.w.o.r.d people are making fun of him. They're like...
Yes. Okay, so here's my thinking and something I actually wanted to talk about. Representation in WandaVision.
Okay.
So I think maybe as a whole, because we're so focused on Wanda and Vision, we're kind of taking for granted how many POC people are in WandaVision, right? We're just not really thinking about it. And the women in the show are all more powerful than the majority of the men in the show. Like, they hold a higher position. They have a little more control over what's going on around them.
Except Monica's not the director of S.w.o.r.d. Some dude is.
Okay, but it's kind of led to believe that if she hadn't disappeared, she would have been.
Not led to believe. No.
Yeah. He's like, this should have been your job.
Right.
Do you want your job? And
right.
she's like, no, why the hell would I want your job? Like, I want to be out in the field. I want to go back to space.
Right. Which she's not allowed to do because of some rule that her mother made before she died. But anyway, but her mother founded S.w.o.r.d.
Yes, that's,
okay.
I believe, I'm not sure how clearly they state it. If she is not the founder, she's definitely one of the founding members.
One of the founding members, sure.
Yeah, so 100%. This is what I'm thinking. Maybe she took that job with S.w.o.r.d. from Nick, said, F this, I don't want to follow your rules. I want to do my own thing.
Yeah. No, and that would be totally in her character, and, that's cool.
Yeah, so then we get
anyway,
S.w.o.r.d.
S.h.i.E.L.D., come on. Like, Comedy of Errors, Keystone Cops, like...
Well, that's kind of the other thing, the way how they represented the small town cops in this episode too.
Agents of S.h.i.E.L.D. fan to just come at me just now.
Oh, well, that's, I think you mistreat Agents of S.h.i.E.L.D.
Okay.
But whatever. Anyways,
really, but yeah.
you don't give it the respect it deserves. Yes, back to the representation of people of color and women
yes, please.
In WandaVision.
Yes.
So, example 1 in this episode is Darcy getting out of the van, and that one, as she says, jackbooted thug, like calling her Miss Lewis, and she's like, I'm a doctor, bitch. Like, I'm best friends with Thor. You're gonna show me some respect. And she's the one who put shit together.
Well, I mean, in this episode, she's the only one that seems to have a clue about what's going on. Like, they're all just grasping at straws, and then she gets there, and immediately as things start falling in line, she starts figuring stuff out. Now, is it everything? No. But
she starts putting the pieces together.
Without a doubt. Better than anybody else that had been there before, apparently.
Now, let's circle back a little to those small town cops.
Oh, yeah.
So are the small town cops just being dicks because of the threat of an FBI agent and a S.w.o.r.d. agent showing up on their doorstep? Or are they being dicks because you have a black woman and an Asian man who both hold more power over those two small town cops?
Oh, I didn't get that, but... Or are they just programmed by Wanda to play a role?
As like a self-defense mechanism. Okay, that's an interesting take.
That was where my head went. It was like, these guys are... I mean, we never heard of Westview. We're from Eastview. Like, you would think that's... that's a whole other show. But you would think that a police officer would, like... When they utter the phrase, there is no such thing as Westview, we're from Eastview, think, why would that person ask me about Westview? You know what I mean? Like that would, like, the two names are so similar, but that just, yeah, I don't know. I felt like that was Wanda programming.
I see
That's a big assumption.
That went past me. That's actually a fairly good assumption. I, however, have watched way too many episodes of Criminal Minds, so I'm very used to watching the small town cop get all offended because FBI showed up on their doorstep. Yeah, so that was during my first viewing. Well, that's what I thought.
Yeah, that's a common theme too in movies and TV, where the local sheriff is like, you're not a big boss in my town.
Yeah, so that was my first thought, and then my viewing this morning was, is it a race thing on top of that?
Could be. I mean, it's certainly... How easy is it for us to accept that two white male cops are kind of dicks?
Kind of dicks. They're full on dicks. They're not. They're leaning against that cop car. They're drinking their coffee. They're not really. They don't show any sign of respect to them at all.
That's why I think it's programming. Because these, they all but say these two people are just speaking gibberish.
Mm-hmm. Like, take your crazy someplace else.
Right, exactly. And it's like, so if you had a storyline that fixed in your head and somebody came up and started spouting a bunch of gibberish, you'd be like, I don't know.
Yeah. So, like you said, we live in a world where it's very easy to
think that cops are going to discount anyone that doesn't look like them.
Yeah. So sad. But then that follows on to the next step of Jimmy when he's talking to, is he like a CEO, Haywood? His name's Tyler Haywood, the guy who is Monica's boss at S.w.o.r.d.
Oh, the new director of S.w.o.r.d.
Director. Okay, yes, director of S.w.o.r.d. So when he throws that comment at Jimmy Woo about, don't they miss you at Quantico?
Right.
And Jimmy's got his snappy comeback of, no, it's not softball season anymore. Watching him again today, like, first viewing, I thought, just, like, he's not even holding himself in that high of a regard, / it's just for comedy. But then watching him again today and how he says it, it's a little more like it's derogatory towards Hayward. Like, no, this is how little you think of me. Don't worry, others do too.
There's lots of S.w.o.r.d. attitude over everybody that isn't S.w.o.r.d. Like, I got that vibe at least. Like, they just, whatever. These people are here because we have to put up with it.
Yeah. And yet, Darcy and Woo are the only ones figuring shit out.
What?
And this is in the space of 2 days. This entire episode, meaning the first 3 episodes, takes place over a 2-day period.
Oh, right. Well, is it? Is it though?
That's what she says.
Right. So they're watching WandaVision. They're watching the TV, and as it's happening, they're chronicling what's going on. So we get that impression that, it's not like these aren't discrete days or anything. This is just like, is it 24/7? Do they go to sleep? We don't really know.
Yeah. More freaking questions. That's all WandaVision is, guys. It's just questions. They're like, here, have an answer. Now have 10 more questions.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
For instance.
Satisfied with that?
Yeah. Like, here's your little crumb. Nope, you can't have the whole piece of cake. Sorry.
You don't get any cake. Cake is a lie.
Now I want cake. That's a lie. I always want cake. Yeah. Anyways, so, Geraldine, in episode 3, helps Wanda give birth to her babies.
If you want to call it that, yeah.
Yeah. Birth.
Classic TV 70s birth.
Yeah. Still, I love that.
It makes no
the
sense
shot,
at all.
it's ridiculous. But the comment that the doctor throws at the end, you did such a good job. You'd make a great nurse. And Wanda and Geraldine make eye contact. Like, they look at each other and like, fucking men. Like, Wanda rolls her eyes and they just move on. So when you think about the kind of inherent sexism that is in 50s and 60s sitcoms, there's no real specific moment in the first 2 episodes beyond what is inherently there already. Episode 1, little lady of the house has to be able to prepare a 5-course meal in 10 minutes for her husband.
Right.
Agnes comes over. Well, of course, what kind of housewife would I be if I didn't have all of this ready to go? Like, it's right there. It's very inherent. Episode 2, Dottie is that classic queen bee character. Everyone has to bow down to her. Dottie's the one in control of everything in this neighborhood, which she puts into practice by belittling Beverly. So, again, it's not some like clean-cut scenario from those first 2 episodes like it is in episodes 3 and 4, but it's definitely there because that's kind of weaved into any sitcom, including I Love Lucy, Bewitched, and I Dream of Jeannie. Emphasis on the I Dream of Jeannie one.
So is Dottie somebody, or is she just a character in that one episode?
Let's go to Jimmy's whiteboard. Raise your hand if you have a whiteboard.
Oh, no.
And if the second Jimmy Woo's whiteboard popped up, you're like, bitch, see, I did it first. I did it first. Part of me wants to say that whiteboard is like from the writer's room. Like,
why not, right?
As they were plotting it. So as they are recognizing and naming the characters on the sitcom to figure out who they are, the 2 biggest things that I noticed, one, Agnes's picture is up there, but there's no driver's license attached to it, like there is for the others. Beverly, Norm, Mr. and Mrs. Hart, Joe, they all have their profile, their picture. So I'm assuming that their profile is kind of like a breakdown of their character, and then they have their driver's license attached to it.
Right.
Agnes is there, no driver's license. Dottie is not on that board at all. I don't know.
But so is it just they didn't get to them? Or? Right. More questions. More questions.
And let me quote Darcy Lewis. I don't know. I don't know. And I don't know. Like,
yeah, no, she was good.
Yes.
She was good in that.
It's very, like, that's just perfection. Literally all of us asking since episode 1. Do you know?
I don't know.
Oh, like, I love when you see that whiteboard and as questions get added to it, when every time they go back to it, there's some more information on it, but it's not any actual information. It's just more questions.
Right.
Who's doing this?
Yes.
Is Wanda okay? Is Vision dead? Which I'm pretty sure we can all very clearly accept that Vision be dead.
Yeah, I mean, at one point we see dead Vision, and it's like Vision is way dead. Like, looks gruesome dead. And I mean, we're talking about a dead robot, right? Like, they did a really good job of going, this is what a really, really dead robot look. Synthezoid, sorry, go ahead. Come at me. This is what a really dead robot looks like. And yeah, he looked bad.
So apparently, again, something else I learned this morning, there is a story arc which leads in part to one of Wanda's breakdowns. Because you gotta admit, having that much power, you're bound to have more than one breakdown.
Well, and you said this after the when we were talking about it the other day. I had to place it time-wise in my mind, but look at the tragedy of Wanda's life.
It's so sad.
You know what I mean? Like, nobody can possibly be like, wow, you horrible bitch. You're just, like her brother, everybody. Vision.
Everyone she's ever loved, gone.
Well,
I mean, friends. She's got some friends in the Avengers.
Right.
But Vision is the love of her life. As a twin, I mean, I can't speak as a twin, but from what twins have told me, like...
They're all lying bastards.
You know, that... a sibling relationship is already pretty close, but to have somebody you shared a womb with and then lose that person, I can't possibly imagine that. So this is a very traumatic life that she's had. And the idea of her breaking down and building a completely new reality to protect herself from that tragedy.
Which was part of your point that I thought was really good.
Yeah, like I'm not going to be that mad at you. Just kindly don't harm anybody.
Right. I mean, and that's, who can blame her? Especially, the way Vision gets it.
Yeah, so
and then she blips out, and then she comes back and, whips ass on Thanos for a while.
So I had
that back just a bit.
I had a thought while watching Captain Marvel a little while ago, and I'm going to try to talk it out, walk through it, and see if I can get the thought back in my brain. So, thinking about female representation, Wanda's powers, I was thinking about the scene in Endgame when all the women line up, like super badass scene.
That's the best.
So awesome. I think my thought is gone.
Oh no.
So WandaVision takes place a year later, is what I first heard, but this episode leads us to believe it's been about a month. Because Hayward tells Monica, of course you're the first person back. You've been gone for 3 weeks.
Right. Yeah, no, you're right. I remember that now. So it's about a month after the end of Endgame.
Yeah. Damn, I think I lost whatever that thought was.
Well, maybe it'll come back.
Maybe it will. Well, the thought before that about Vision's storyline is I guess there is a storyline where Vision gets disassembled and then put back together, but he's not the same Vision and he's all grayed out. So the dead Vision we see is one that does actually exist in a comic book realm and helps contribute to Wanda's breakdown.
Except for the Mind Stone wasn't torn out of his forehead.
Yeah.
Because that, hole in his forehead's
He did.
Yeah.
He did, guys.
He did.
Yeah. I mean, did somebody go find his body in Wakanda? And did they have a funeral for him?
Well, it was just laying there when everybody who didn't blip out was there, so who knows?
So what if that's part of what leads to Wanda's breakdown? So we're saying it's about a month later. Did they have Tony's funeral? I'm guessing fairly immediately after Endgame. I would assume within a week. Feel yes, no, yeah.
No. I'm lining it all up. Yeah.
So I'm thinking they're there, and then Clint and Wanda have the conversation by the lake, and Wanda's got to go, shit, I've got to go see if I can find Vision's body. So what if she goes back to Wakanda, does find him.
Right. Somebody saved the body.
Yeah. Oh, well, no, because it's been 5 years, so...
Somebody saved it, though. You don't just leave Vision laying there on the ground, whether it's in Wakanda or at the Avengers compound or something. Somebody's got to have that. You don't just leave all that technology laying around.
That's fair, okay? You've got Bruce Banner there. Bruce has got to be like, no, we've got to get Vision.
We've got to secure this.
Yes. Okay, so then...
I would think.
Maybe, is there a Vision tombstone somewhere? And Wanda goes to that and has a breakdown?
Oh, I bet. So, they wouldn't bury him. He's in a box in a warehouse somewhere.
You think that he's like frozen? Oh.
I don't know, but I mean, you don't throw Vision away. You know what I mean?
Like, you don't bury him. You
like
don't
the body's
burn him.
Stinking.
That's fair. This took a real dark turn.
Yeah, it did.
This got real dark.
It's like this. He's like, okay, it's dead. Well, we better bury it. No, you're not going to bury it. Yeah.
Oh my God, I'm so sad now.
Okay.
I'm so sad. Okay.
We're going to have to take a break. I'm sorry.
Pull
No,
myself
we're
together, guys. Sorry. Other thoughts about not just this particular episode, but moments that are reflective of Wanda and Vision in the movies and the TV show. So, for instance, this kind of leads back to the little lady back at home cooking dinner for her man in episode 1, when you've got in Civil War Vision attempting to cook for Wanda.
Badly, but yeah.
Yes, because he's a synthesoid. He has no idea what to do, but he's trying.
Right.
And then you have the scene, and they put it in episode 4, after the terrifying death of Vision, when he says, "We can go anywhere," which is the line he uses in Infinity War.
Infinity War, yeah.
Yeah, we can go anywhere. Like, let's just give up our lives of being superheroes and go. And here she says, no, we can't, because he's dead. And they physically can't leave this 5-mile radius or he will be gone again.
That's the other thing, though. But I mean, if she's that powerful to make this, why can't it just follow them wherever they go?
Why can't it just travel with them? Like a Wanda bubble?
Sure, why not?
A Wanda power bubble.
I don't know. I mean, now we're speculating on speculation.
Yes,
but
yeah.
That's part of the fun, and that's part of the reason we have this show. I don't know. I there's no reason. Again, she has the power to bring a version of Vision back to life, quote unquote. Mm-hmm. But she doesn't have the power to reanimate him.
Now, I think that kind of leads towards her power not being all-encompassing, but also incredibly dangerous. Because as Darcy points out, she's using an old school form of radiation from the Big Bang.
Right.
And that radiation level is growing, is what Darcy says.
Right.
Like,
it's not dangerous yet.
Yeah, but it's getting there.
Right.
The S.w.o.r.d people make the assumption that her power does not reach underground, and that's why they send...
Well, they test an assumption.
Yeah.
But yeah, they send...
Mm-hmm. And Wu is the one who's like, listen, man, this is not a great idea.
Right.
So I think this is one of those moments where his intelligence, I think that Jimmy Woo plays a character for other people. Like, yeah, he's got a little bit of the dingbat in him, and that's totally cool. But I think that he plays off of it so that other people will underestimate him. At least I'd like to believe it. So?
No, I'm not saying you're wrong.
And?
It's funny because in Ant-Man, his character's clearly like, he's the inept foil.
Yeah.
And Ant-Man always outwits. Always, and it's...
Yes, in the 2-day period that Ant-Man and the Wasp take place.
You're right.
Yes, no, he is very much a dingbat in those, but you can be...
Right, you can be a dingbat sometimes and be really smart other times. Yeah, no,
like
absolutely.
Yeah, you can't have one without the other. And
well, he could be just an idiot.
He could. He could be an idiot savant.
He's also an FBI agent, and we assume that most FBI agents have some level of competence, as opposed to like the Westview sheriff.
The Eastview sheriff.
Right, who may or may not be competent. He just got elected.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But then again, when you look at the entire MCU universe, which I don't need to say universe, that's what the U is for.
It is. It's like saying pin number. Don't say pin number. It's a pin. Sorry, that's one of my weird things. Why do people say pin number? That's the N in pin. It's a pin.
What's the P and the I? I honestly don't know.
Personal identification number.
Oh. I didn't know that.
Yeah, personal identification number. So it's a PIN. It's not a PIN number. PIN number. It's like Watergate gate.
Well, that's not fair. What if the Watergate building has a gate?
See?
So
it's the Watergate gate.
Yeah. Anyways.
If there was a scandal... No. Wait, okay.
In the MCU, most cops are represented as being dum-dums. Like, for S.h.i.E.L.D., kind of... You have your higher-ups in S.h.I.E.L.D., and their red shirts tend to either be aggressive or submissive, but there aren't that many cops, and our heroes always treat whatever military personnel they're working with as idiots. Starting with Tony Stark at with the military. Yeah. Right. He treats anyone who's not himself, but specifically the military, with the exception of Brody. They're all idiots. And then he meets Nick Fury and Coulson, and they're all idiots, because how could you work for a government agency and not be an idiot? And just anytime you see any kind of...
But that's really Tony Stark. You don't see that from other people.
You see it from Ant-Man.
Well,
he's a criminal.
Because Jimmy Woo's kind of an idiot in those movies.
I'm talking about in the first Ant-Man as well as in the second one, because your main characters are criminals.
Right.
So criminals tend to look at the police as dum-dums.
Well, okay, fair enough. Okay.
Yeah. And I'm sure that there's other examples there, but I was going to say something about Agents of S.h.I.E.L.D., but I'm going to move on.
What's Agents of S.h.I.E.L.D.?
Screw you, man.
Oh, okay.
Screw you.
Screw you.
Yes. Talk. Thank you. I'm very smart like that.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay, let's do this. Jimmy Woo, you want to underestimate his intelligence? I love how he's saying, I was going through the phone book and I got to the D's, and that, what was it? Dilly-dally was what he used immediately. So, like, come on. That takes a level of smarts to make a fun pun like that.
No. Okay, sure.
Leave my Jimmy Woo alone, okay? I'm so happy they're here.
Okay, so I was to sort of, I don't want to, we're not, to sort of wrap it up in a sense. For me, one of the really exciting things about this episode was that I finally feel like we've seen part of the arc of this series. We have some idea, some confirmation. We always thought it was Wanda doing it, but now we know. Now we know that there are people investigating it and that it's a thing. Mm-hmm. So we presume the rest of the series is going to be S.w.o.r.d. trying to reach Wanda. They're already trying to send messages to her, which didn't work so well.
But it did work. They just don't know that it worked.
Right.
Because apparently is either Wanda's so aware of what she's doing that she can control this feed that's going to the outside world, or is somebody else controlling Wanda, controlling WandaVision?
Filtering it somehow?
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah, I mean...
Look at that. More questions.
See the question mark shooting out of my head? Just like a little cartoon character. So yeah, I said at the end of our last show, I really need something, and I got that. I'm
glad. I was actually worried that you wouldn't.
Really?
Yeah. I thought maybe you'd be okay with it.
You really think I'm an asshole, don't you? No. Don't you really do?
No, because from
just
my
because
perspective...
I don't like Psych? Really? I had to bring it up. I had to go there. Yes, I'm that much of a jerk.
Okay. I'm controlling my anger, but I'm gonna play the Psych theme song just to fuck with you. I'm gonna blare it really loud through my bedroom wall.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's fine.
Just cause. No, I thought, because again, from my perspective, it was like they gave us a couple of little answers to things that we had already figured out. And then was like, let's fuck with them and give them 40,000 more questions.
Yeah, I just wasn't... Okay, I had 3 episodes of fun retro sitcom parody. And that's cool. But that is not why I am a fan of the MCU. And now the 4th episode gave me,
what you like.
This isn't just this fun little romp that's going to end in some unsatisfying way. Now we know there's a conflict. We know a little bit, and we assume, I guess, that that's what this series is going to resolve, is what happened. Whether or not they resolve it, whether they fix it, whether they find Wanda, we don't know. But at least we know there's a whole bunch of people working on it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, and that makes me happy.
And to wrap it up, as you said, it kind of ends on my very, very loose working theory. That what if the ultimate bad guy for all of Phase 4 is Wanda?
Is a deranged or delusional or just
does she go off her
grief-stricken?
rocker? Is she so lost in her grief? Is she being controlled by someone? Or does she start out being controlled by someone, say, F you, nobody controls me, and ends up being the ultimate villain when we get to Doctor Strange?
So, we're going to see Doctor Strange. Do you remember when?
I do not, and my phone's nowhere near me. I want to say it's in March of 2022.
So it's a ways off yet.
Yeah, it's either the end of this year or the beginning of next year.
But we know that Wanda's in that.
Yep.
I mean, that's the only thing we're going to get a clue on, other than what's in the series, because she's not going to be in any of the other TV shows. It seems likely.
Considering, if my knowledge stands corrected, that Falcon and Winter Soldier was supposed to be released before WandaVision. I thought WandaVision was supposed to be the first one.
Really?
But I guess, yeah, that Falcon and Winter Soldier.
Who knows?
Oh, I think they had reshoots on something. I think. I don't know for sure. I think. Yeah. Oh, I think this also helps lead to the thoughts were coming back. Okay. They were talking somewhere about the next level of Avengers, because we're getting to this stage when our superheroes like Tony Stark and Captain America they're kind of done being superheroes.
Tony's dead.
Yeah, well, he's dead, but I'm talking about actors too. Like, being a superhero takes a toll on your body, and you can't play that role forever. So, the talk of the Young Avengers. You have Kate Bishop, who takes over for Hawkeye. Cassie Lang takes over for her father, Ant-Man. Monica takes over as one version of Captain Marvel, or her 10 other names. They have the Ms. Marvel show coming out, which I can't fucking wait for, man. Just because I love her character so much. Who also has ties to Jimmy Woo and the Agents of Atlas. I think they had like 2 or 3 other characters who are the Young Avengers, or eventually become the Young Avengers, drifting into the MCU. They're coming along.
Well, I mean, that's certainly been one of my questions when it comes to the MCU, in that we know that everything in the first phase was so well plotted out, and we had an idea. This leads to this, leads to this, and we knew that at some point there would be a conclusion. Now, we've killed off Tony Stark.
Oh, Ironheart. That's who it was.
Right.
Ironheart.
Well, so, I mean, at some point, Marvel's not just going to walk away from those properties. You know what I mean? From those brand names. I don't understand why why there isn't more Captain America. It's not like Chris Evans wasn't willing to do it. It's not like he was too old to do it.
But I don't know.
Done. He's retired. He went a different direction.
He just wanted to go off and be with Peggy, okay?
Well, no, that's
all.
Great for the character, but again, like, is Marvel really so? it's so not comic book to like use those characters for one decade and then walk away from them. Okay, we're done. No more Iron Man. What? What do you mean?
That's why we're getting Ironheart.
Right. So,
and She-Hulk.
Wonderful.
Which apparently, according to IMDb, Mark Ruffalo is going to be in all 10 episodes of She-Hulk.
I wonder if Professor Hulk or Dr. Banner or what?
I don't know, man.
Right.
I don't know. I know what you know. I know a little bit more than what you know because I just told you that. But now you know, so now we're on equal footing again.
Me, okay, just get all like cocky and shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Final note, because I think we're reaching the end of our show.
I think we're wrapping it up. I mean, but if you got more, go.
Well, I just want to say that any fanboy out there who bitches about the complexity of soap operas, K-dramas, vampire shows, they can all go fuck themselves, man.
Well, just in general, they can go fuck themselves.
Yeah, in general. This goes for those Star Wars fanboys too, because fuck all y'all.
Well, the misogynist idiots. Mm-hmm. Not if you love Star Wars. If you're an asshole and you love Star Wars.
If you're an asshole about it and you talk about how stupid these other things are for having witchcraft and vampires and werewolves and fairies and they're all in love with each other.
Are stupid.
Until one kills you, that's a whole nother story.
I'm such a role player in this show.
You guys can go screw yourselves because I learned today that Marvel has a magical cow named Bova who was an integral part in the birth of Wanda and Pietro. She was a magical fucking cow, was the midwife at the birth of Quicksilver and the Scarlet Witch. So, again, if you make fun of K-dramas, soap operas, vampires, anything that you think is girly and dumb, go fuck yourself. Okay? You cannot defend anything. The layers of complexity involving witchcraft and magic that I have learned about just barely researching Wanda and Vision's history is ridiculous. So there's like the Deadly Seven or Secret Seven and
Sinister Seven?
The Sinister Seven, okay, which there's a working theory that the residents of Westview, which apparently I've heard now that Westview is inspired by Westworld. Just the name.
Okay.
Yeah, they're like, see, everybody's waking up to the fact that they're not real, but they are real, which I love when Jimmy's like, no, these are people. They're not characters, Darcy. They're people. Remember this. So see, I'm just going to keep defending Darcy, or Jimmy. Anyways, my point was, again, that apparently they're Agatha Harkness, who may or may not be Agnes, and her lack of a driver's license kind of leans towards that. So a theory being that the 7 of these characters are actually her grandchildren. Like, again, fuck anyone who says that these other shows are stupid. You cannot defend something that has a magical cow as a midwife and make fun of other things.
A magical.
Yeah. It's either in the first or second episode in the title sequence, there's a milk truck and it says Bova whatever on it, and it's a nod to the cow. Yeah.
I had no idea.
Magical cow.
Wow. All those years in the 70s I wasted not reading this backstory.
Magical cow.
A magical cow midwife.
Mm-hmm. So anytime that someone tries to lord shit over me now, I'm literally just going to be like magical cow and bow out.
I think you should. That is like the comeback. Just magical cow.
Magical cow, man. You put all your money on a magical cow. So, no idea if we're going to do another episode after the next episode of WandaVision, or if we'll wait a few. We'll see.
No, we'll do another one.
Okay, yeah, we'll see how things go. And perhaps next time we'll circle back to the influence of not just the idea of Mephisto and the devil, but of the other.
Because I so hope you're wrong.
Well, no, you know more about religion than I do, and I just happened to notice that the apple scene with Geraldine when she takes the apple from Wanda.
Right.
So, like, the Eve status of taking an apple, and then she gets expelled from Wanda's Eden.
How much allegory is this? That's a good question.
Yeah.
I hope they'll do okay. I'm gonna have my Marvel faith is now been reinforced because they gave me something in this episode, and now I still, as you said, I still don't have any clue where it's going, but I know it's going somewhere.
Your faith was renewed. You got a little rocky there for a minute. Just a little.
If we had a 4th episode of Retro TV, it would have been like, and honestly, that whole 3rd episode with the whole birth thing and that was weird. And again, it's in her head. Dreams are weird.
Yeah.
Humans, everyone dreams totally crazy shit. So the idea that you would get pregnant by a robot and give birth to twins in the same day, sure, why not? Somebody out there's probably already had that dream.
It's a possibility. We don't know people.
Yeah, people are weird. Okay.
Yeah.
So, I hope. No, I'll speak. We hope you're enjoying WandaVision as much as we are. And if you have comments, questions, put them in the comments. And, we look forward to that.
Unless you're one of those fanboys who's like, fuck everything I don't love.
Yeah.
In which case, fuck you. Which I believe we've said before. It's a kind of an underlying message of our show.
We absolutely. And, but yeah, we enjoy it and it's fun.
Yeah. Other words, yay for more WandaVision. Yay for more Jimmy and Darcy. Yay. Let's do this thing.
And then we watch Captain Marvel afterwards.
I've been watching Marvel literally since I woke up this morning. I spent an hour online.
It's a good day in my world.
Then I watched WandaVision again. I left to get some food. Came back, watched Thor because of Darcy. Watched Captain Marvel because of Monica. I was trying to see exactly how much of that child Monica we were seeing. Oh, that was something else. I missed it on the first view. When Monica rematerializes, you hear Brie Larson's voice saying Lieutenant Trouble. And when I saw that, I saw it online. I was like, what, really? So that's one of the many reasons I put it on again. And I was like, look at that. So I wonder if that's it. And again, is it something in the MCU where you can't really ask others, hey, did you snap out of existence? And when you came back, did you hear the voice of loved ones?
That's kind of weird.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's important.
I don't know. Is it important that they were talking about the astronaut project that they were working on, where most of the astronauts are gone, and yet we know that the Fantastic Four are on their way one day? Or how about the sentient weapons that S.w.o.r.D is working on? Does that have anything to do with Sentinel services?
Their whole, or is that just about
AI?
Captain Marvel?
Yeah. How much of this has to do with mutants? Yeah. So that's part of, apparently in the comics, where it says weapons in WandaVision, in the comics, it's world. So they're talking about protecting the world, where is this specifically seeing sentient beings as a threat who need to be eliminated? You know who's good at that? Sentinels.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a really big workspace. It makes sense if you're building a rocket to have a giant workspace like that, or if you're building giant robots.
I got nothing. I can't even speculate. Not my favorite X-Men thing, the Sentinels.
Really?
Yeah, not really.
Maybe because it just was one of the first things I saw as a child that introduced me to X-Men, to watching it every Saturday morning, that it's in there.
I never saw that cartoon.
Really? I own it. It's also on Disney Plus.
Oh my god.
I also own X-Men Evolution.
So all I know about the Sentinels are from the movies and from the old comic book.
I do love what they did in the ever underrated Fox show, The Gifted. So underrated.
Never saw it.
Freaking, it was good.
Is it better than Psych?
Nothing is better than Psych. Nothing. So there.
And on that note,
thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye. Tell your friends, share a link, please, and subscribe, because we'd love to have more than 2 subscribers.
Yay.
And
I'm one of them.
Yeah, Bree's one of them. I'm not. Maybe I'll go subscribe to our own channel.
Then we'll have 3.